Detailed report of divination for possible conquest, written by High Oracle Zokotal. My High Emperor, I know it is customary to write formally for any report, but I do not believe I'll be able to do that. I do not have any time left, but for the time I do have, I will tell you what I have learned, and the grave mistake I have made. This report will be written for those that are yet to be born, or for those who are too foolish to understand, for I believe this will need to be taught for future generations to come, to never set foot on that world, or to even try divination on them ever again, to try and find out humanity's true God. First, an explanation. Gods are not those things primitives worship in their earlier years. No. Gods are what actually guide a species with their unseen hand, until they are ready to gaze upon them and receive their gifts. And, before this moment, a species only gets one god. Divination, as you may or may not know, are a way to find out the nature of a god of a species, to find out what that species' nature would embody. This is usually done to find out if an invasion is feasible. While doing a divination, the species of god speaks only the truth and nothing but the truth. It is unknown why they only speak the truth, but it has allowed those that seek to conquer avoid fatal mistakes. Manifestations of gods usually take the form of a species gaining immense strength, or the god manifesting itself to protect their species from outside threats. The ritual went as planned. The appropriate sacrifices were made, and it was then that I was able to dip into the human psychosphere. It was a torrent of mishmashed, incoherent thoughts, like every other species, though a little bit more violent. It took me a while to visualize what I needed, and I visualized a door to make my journey easier to find humanity's god. When I stepped through, I saw a human female, brown skin and green hair. When I saw her, I paused. The power I saw radiating off of her was concerning. She then proceeded to refer to herself as Mother, and she told me the history of the planet. She guided organisms from the primordial soup, and built them over and over and over again, until they learned to sustain themselves. The savagery of nature, and how humanity climbed through perseverance. I then asked my question: how will you manifest should we invade? She laughed and said, "For all of my work, I am not humanity's true god. I may have birthed and fortified them, but they are not mine." This shocked me. A species should only ever have one god. Was she lying to me? But no god could lie. So I had turned and tried manifesting another door, focusing on the possibility of another god, and lo and behold, it appeared. But before I went through it, I heard the god laugh in a sweet tone and say, "You better quit now while you still have the chance." At the time, I ignored it, but I should have listened. I walked through the door, and I appeared in front of this second god. In front of me looked like the skeletal remains of a human, cloaked in a robe, holding a scythe. He referred to himself as Father. In front of me was unmistakably the visage of death, if my mind wasn't made up before. This figure alone made me consider even trying to invade Earth was a horrendously horrible idea. He laughed in a low, cold tone that recounted his guiding hand of humanity. He plagued them with disease so that they would not grow weak, failed crops so that they would learn to try again, and it grew harder than before, and how he took them before their time so that they would not grow idle, for the march of death is heartless, and if they are to propagate, they must be heartless to survive their heartless world. My mind was already made up, but I still asked my question with a shaky voice. How will you manifest, should we invade? He laughed in a cold, sickly tone and said, "For all of my work and all of my trials, they are not mine." I was shocked beyond compare. A possible third god? It was unheard of for a species to even have more than one, but 3? My mind was racing with curiosity. I had to find out what the third god of humanity would be. I focused on the possible third deity and manifested the door, and before I walked through it, the god said, "If you want to live a little bit longer, I recommend leaving now." Foolishly, I ignored this. My curiosity was too great for a species to have not just two, but possibly three, and for them to be giants in power. How could I not look for the third? When I walked through the door, I was confused. In front of me floated a sharpened rock. I was very confused at this. Where was the third god? I looked all around the space. I looked high and low, but all there was just that sharpened rock. The two gods talked about this thing like it would be the death of me, and like a fool I went to touch it on its non-sharpened side. Immediately upon touching it, I was pulled from my senses, and I saw the true nature of the universe and its infinite cosmic dance. I was then thrown into an endless ocean of information, and I saw things. Things that would have benefited our people 1,000-fold. Things that would put us on par with our God. No, surpass our God, and it was only then that I realized that I would die, for this knowledge was not for me or any of us. It is for the chosen species of this God. And then I saw it. Humanity's true God in his purest form. I cannot describe his form because I could not understand what I was looking at. When I looked at it, I saw the unbelievable progress of the humans. While it took us millions of years to even get to a relatively modern society, it only took the humans 10,000 years. Even with all I saw and witnessed, I still ask my question. How will you manifest, should we invade? Instead of answering my question immediately, it gave me a story. Humanity began as simple hunter-gatherers. The mother of life grew them, the father of death molded them, and they both fought for the right over them, but while they were fighting, I emerged. When the first human sharpened the rock, I came into being and guided them. I went from the rock to the spear, to the arrow, to the sword and shield, and eventually to the firearms and bombs. They are already tickling at primitive artificial intelligence. Should you interfere, the 10,000 years of progress I have planned for them will be reduced to a fraction of the time, and their rage will be directed towards you. Terrified, I quickly ended the divination and voided my stomachs of all of their contents. I now write this in my chambers, still reading from the amount of information that's in my head, but cannot be shared. I don't have much time now. To the High Emperor that reigns over all of our people, it is of my higher suggestion and plea that we do not attack the humans. For if we do, they will adapt and grow faster and faster, until they will outmatch us completely and come at us as conquerors. The last excerpt of Zork Tal, who died from a seizure in their sleep.